Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar event. This is Joshua. I'm going to be your presenter today. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Quite a few folks today. Sorry, bear with me here, folks, for just a second. All right, just working out some technical stuff there. We're here to talk about the draft copy W-2 and Church Windows Payroll. Before we get started on that particular topic, again, welcome to everybody. We're here for the next 20 minutes or so, till about 12:50, 12:52, talking about this. If you have questions, please type those into the chat portion of the Demio control panel. I will do my best to keep an eye on those, get those questions answered for you. If not during the event, then at the very end. So again, please type in those questions if you have them. There is no printed material for today's event. I simply ask that you keep questions on the topic about the draft copy W-2 form here that we're going to show you. There may be another event here upcoming for the rest of October or maybe in November that may answer your questions. Or of course, folks, again, just as a reminder, the Resource Center page out on the Church Windows website is chock full of existing videos and documents that have all things Church Windows out there. And of course, our technical support staff, myself included, are simply a phone call away, 800-533-5227. Or questions can be sent to, of course, support@churchwindows.com. Please include your customer number with that. So we know who you are and we can record your email request in our support system for historic purposes. Okay, so as we're approaching the end of the year now, well, lots of questions are coming up. We're getting lots of questions in support about, documentation preparation, tax forms, W-2s, W-3s, 1099s, etc. And of course, we now have we're calling and looking at the draft copy of the W-2 that can be reviewed at any time. This is important because the official forms for 2023, even with our partner Atrix, the Atrix who is now helping with all of our tax forms and tax documentation preparation for you, e-filing now, even with the new government regulations for W-2s, W-3s, or W-2s and 1099s. They don't have those 2023 forms yet. The official government forms are not yet available, released by the government. Atrix doesn't have those. So we wanted to present you with an opportunity or give you an opportunity to be able to get an idea of what the W-2s would look like before the actual forms become available. Essentially, you don't have to wait until the official forms come out in order to anticipate potential problems and clean up issues with regards to that, okay? You can get an idea if the forms are correct by looking at the draft copy now. And how we access that, and folks, this is probably event's not even going to last all 20 minutes today, FYI, but you can access it by going up to Reports and Export, Tax Forms, and then right down here, third one down, Draft W-2 form, okay? So the important thing to keep in mind about this, this is not an official copy. You're going to see that. I'm going to point it out. It should not be sent to any tax authorities, and it should not be distributed to any employees, okay? Pure and simple. You're going to see why in a minute. The same thing is kind of true with, of course, the same thing is true with the draft 941 form as too. But it says draft W-2 form. It says year. So it's defaulting to 2023 now, but notice 2022 is in the list too. This will only be available, this draft form will only be available for you in years where there was payroll that was posted in the new payroll software, okay? Payroll that was in the old payroll module, the old Church Windows Payroll we ended that last year, end of 2022. You still have the reports and things that with all the totals and everything you need, but you cannot produce a draft copy of the W-2 in any of those years prior if you didn't have it. So if you had no payroll posted in the new payroll in 2022, you're only going to see 23 in this list, okay? So surprised when you may only see 1 or maybe 2 years, okay? So we're going to look at 23, excuse me. We're going to choose that. And as always with reports in Church Windows, click Next. Now it allows us to choose which employees we want to view the draft copy for. I can't express this enough. Notice that it says under payee type, employees with earnings. So if you have an employee that you do not have earnings for in 2023, they are not going to be in this list. Important thing to understand. If you think there's an employee that should be in this list, then you're going to have to go back and revisit their pay history, because they're not here if they have no pay records or pay even one paycheck in 2023. You can choose all. It defaults to specific, though, I believe, and you can do uncheck all or check all, whatever you wish, okay? And then you can just pick, say, the employees that you want the draft copy W-2 for, okay? So I'm going to just choose my Pastor Larry, Senior Pastor Larry, and my custodian and part-time organist Jimmy, okay? But I can choose everybody if I want, or specific. Then simply click Next. It now opens the actual draft copy of the W-2 form, all right? It looks a lot like a W-2, a real one, okay? But there's no year on here. There's none of the little fine print minutia that indicates like a revision number and all of that other, text that you would see at the very top and at the bottom of the form that would indicate the official nature of the actual W-2 form. But again, no year. So again, please, folks, do not distribute this to employees or send them into the IRS or anybody else, all right? This is for your preparation, year-end preparation, and for internal use only. I cannot stress that enough, all right? So what it does do is it allows you to verify Social Security information, employer EIN information, state tax ID if applicable, okay? Are, boxes, federal wages correct? Is federal income tax withheld? Larry's my senior pastor, and so he has no Social Security 3, 4, 5, and 6 totals at all. Okay, so that I would expect for him. Okay, it does show his housing allowance and an automobile allowance, a mileage allowance, since I've got that. I forget what 12E is, would be his pension contribution, okay? It would show any of the other information in the respective boxes, any state wages and income tax, any local wages and income tax, and the municipalities, okay? And now when I go down to Jimmy, he is a regular lay person, so it does show both Social Security and Medicare information and Social Security and Medicare taxes, and state or local if applicable, okay? It will show confirm their, employee's address and the church's name and address information. So even notice it says, even with you can kind of see it there, the little watermark in the background. Maybe you can see it more from your end than mine, but it says draft. So not a fileable document, okay? So just be aware, this is here to help you look at the W-2s now without having to wait till the official copies come out. You can go in and do adjustments, calculate adjustments, fix things, you know what I mean? There's an opportunity to fix them now here in October and November without feeling like you're, behind and having to rush to try to get things fixed when you can anticipate those now. Yes, I know not all pays have been paid to employees for 2023 yet, but that still doesn't mean you can't look at that and go, oh, if this were the end of the year, are those box 1 wages correct? Is that federal withholding correct? Et cetera, folks. So just be aware, this allows you to look at this and anticipate problems now rather than waiting, all right? So when I'm done, I simply X out of it, and I simply click Finish, and I'm now back at the main payroll landing page, okay? Not too terribly much to printing the W-2s, but there's one other thing I do want to stress. Yes, folks, if If there's something you need to fix, you're unsure how to do it, the one final thing here is, all right, so I'm getting asked a question here. How do we verify if the numbers are correct? Well, Kathy, that's a good question. You know, that's really kind of an internal forensic issue, but you've got to know what the employee's compensation package is. You'll definitely want to use reports. You know, I would use probably things like maybe the history report, federal taxable earnings, withholdings, and net pay detail, because that allows you to look at the individual pays, you know, for the employees, you know, to look at. So if I go to the federal taxable earnings report, I do per payee page break for each employee. What it allows me to do here is to go through and look. I mean, because these totals should literally match up to the penny with what is on the report. So it says earnings without allowances for Larry, federal taxable compensation, which would represent the box 1 wages, how much federal income tax was withheld, you know, again, no Social Security and Medicare for pastor. There's Larry's $229 in state withholding taxes. Okay, so there are reports you can use, you know, because right now, if earnings without allowances is not the correct gross pay per pay, then you may have underpaid an employee. But you need to go in and look at that. Okay, Church Windows is only basing taxes and withholdings on what's set up. But I would probably suggest starting with a report like this. Okay. So that in combination with maybe things like your pay period earnings report, your both taxable and pay type earnings reports, somewhere in there, you should be able to help figure out that information, help answer those questions. All right. Finally, for our last topic, I'll come back to our questions here, folks, is if you're not already aware, the instructions for the W-2s on the irs.gov's website is incredibly helpful. So here I am at irs.gov. If I go up to search and I type in W-2 instructions, and if I could spell it correctly today, instructions, click search right here. Instructions for Form W-2, W-3 wage and tax statement and transmittal, right there at the top. Click on that. Here are general instructions for Forms W-2, W-3, 34 pages, folks. There is a lot of information here. Reminders. There's information on, as I was going, needing help, ways you can access help through the IRS. Okay. Common errors on Forms W-2, general instructions with regards to each line number and what it should represent. Just folks, there's so much information here that might prove helpful for you if you have a question about something. Is something reported right here, clergy and religious workers, right there on page 8. Okay, so just saying, this document is 34 pages of just amazing amounts of group term life tax insurance and imputed income reporting, all kinds of information. All right. Moving expenses, and with ministers, that's important. And here I am only on page 11 or 12. This is helpful for both your pastors and your lay staff. Okay. So just be aware, we always like to point out that the document, the W-2 instructions on the IRS's website might be able to provide some answers that if we're unavailable or if we are unable to answer those, you can go right to the source right there. Okay. All right, folks, that's really the topic for the day. All right. So I'm going to end what I'm discussing right there. Okay, so next question. You mentioned something about new documents this year. Is it just the year or other drastic changes? You point us to where they are. Barbara, that's a good question. I am unaware of drastic changes with regards to the form themselves. Oh, come on, Josh. Sorry, folks. Here I am. I clicked the wrong things. draft copy W2 form. I'm unaware of anything here. If something is implemented, we'll know that when the officially released copy of the form is available. You know, we might get a preliminary copy of something or a draft copy of the 2023 form, and if that's the case, then we'll certainly probably get that written in here as quickly as we can, but I'm unaware of any drastic changes. But that does sort of kind of segue into the next question that I had, which is, could you please address the new info regarding the IRS 10 document threshold limit for 23? Yeah, what I can address on it, Teresa, essentially is, folks, and we're going to have more information about this out on our website and maybe even a webinar in future on it, is, folks, the government this year is now requiring that if you have a combined total of 10 W-2s and 1099s, 10 or more, you are now required to e-file. Okay? So if you have 10 1099s and W-2s combined, higher, 10 plus, you are now legally required to e-file those forms. Not 10 W-2s, not 10 1099s, combination of both. Okay? The e-filing, we're going to be having some more information available on that with regards to the documentation or the e-filing through Atrix, which is now the partner that would probably do that for you, with you from Church Windows Payroll. We're also going to have the ability that, you know, if you don't want to e-file certain information, you know, if you're less than 10, you can still continue to print and send them in. Okay, that's what we know. Okay. Yes, Atrix can do this, but it's our understanding that if you have more than 10 of both combined, the penalty for sending them in, if they determine and find that out, is going to be pretty steep, folks. It's my understanding that it could be up to as much as $300 or $310 per contractor or employee. So, you know, I know with complete certainty that the Atrix filing cost is $24.95 minimum for W-2s, another $24.95 for 1099s, but when you consider $50 one time for e-filing, sending them to your employees, filing, sending them to you, what have you, whatever those services entail, $50 or a little less is pretty small in comparison to the penalties that you could incur. So that's all I would suggest. It may seem steep on the front end, but if you've got more, that $24.95 is pretty reasonable per service. But again, folks, we're going to be having more information out on that in the next month or two before the end of the year. Next question. We have a couple of employees that received 2 paychecks from different accounts. Last year, the Atrix software combined those 2 separate accounts into one W-2. The draft copy didn't combine them. Yeah, I guess what that tells me is you have 2 employees files set up. Frankly, I'm more inclined to say, let's find a way to get everything down to 1 employee file so you don't have to combine them. Yeah, the draft copy is not Atrix, so that's us. So I don't have a workaround for that. You would have to look at those 2 totals, combine them yourself using the draft copy. I can certainly get that into, you know, suggestions for you, but I am quite sure that Atrix is still going to permit you to combine those 2 for the official forms. I have not heard anything to the contrary. So anyway, that's my story about that, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. But yes, I don't have a workaround for our draft copy producing 2 if they're 2 employee files. If we go through Atrix, then that can all be taken care of through them. Yes, Teresa, that's absolutely correct. Yes, and they'll take care of that, folks. How can we find the fee information for e-filing from Atrix? That's a good question. Again, folks, we're going to be addressing this on an upcoming webinar in future. But if you go to our website, let me get there, right here to more, our partners, go right down here to Atrix. And here it does a rough breakdown of this. But the thing about this, folks, is right here. It says right here down in the bottom left above the W-2 e-filing, 24 minimum applies to all W-2 filings. Okay, so if you have 5 employees, I think that what that is if you break that down into what they break down into $219, right? $2. So it says right here, employee W-2s mailed, employee W-2 hosted online, federal W-2s and W-3 filed, state W-2 filed. So that's what that $219 per employee service gets you. But I think even if you break the 219 into 24.95, that still breaks down into what, almost 10 over 11 employees that you can e-file with them for that same minimum price. So again, that's just for W-2s. There's also minimum 24.95 for 1099s. So anyway, check that out, folks. You can access that or find that there on our partner page. So right there, again, another question, if we use Atrix for filing, who all do they file to? There you go, Holly. You can find that information right there on the partner page. Does it mean electronically filing all of the documents to the IRS, Social Security, state agencies? I believe that's kind of what this means, Teresa, at that point, for reporting purposes, or does that mean they have to be filed electronically to the employer contractor? I think they'll mail them to your employees, and it says employee can be hosted online, which means I think you can also go in and print them if you wish to distribute them to your employees yourself, to give them to present them before they might be mailed, maybe, I think is what that means. Online hosting means they could be accessed again if necessary in the history. But again, folks, I'm still not sure about a lot of this information in terms of what that is, because this is not what this event was about. It's about the W-2 preparation. So I don't have all the Atrix questions to answer for you today. I'm sorry. Sorry, Teresa's saying my question on the filing was if I am doing the online reporting, not Atrix. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you're about your question, Teresa. I'm sorry. Call me on support with that if you have more questions about that. 800-533-5227. I think probably I just need to kind of hear you speak it to me. So if you're willing to do that, please call me. Okay, I'll be happy to talk about it with you. If I don't know the answer, I'll do what I can to find it for you. Okay. All right, folks. We've gone a little long here. I didn't think we would go that long, but you had a lot of questions. Again, many of them I'm still unprepared for on this event. This is not what that was meant to be about. So I tried, but anyway, I appreciate your patience working through, waiting while we're working through this to find out all the information. You'll get plenty of emails, and there'll be other webinars on this stuff, folks. Okay? All right. I will go ahead and end the event for everybody. Hope the W-2 draft copy proves helpful for you, and we will look forward to hearing from all of you through support if you have any further questions, of course. Okay? I will hope we'll see everybody at another future Church Windows webinar event. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.